Russian Mafia shot his brother on his back. But they didn't stop and then brutally murdered his father too. They were arrogant, unaware that he is a psychopath who will gift them pitiful death with his own hands. Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. So, it's New York, November 1988, and the city's in chaos. Drugs have hit harder than a bad hangover, and crime is off the charts. The cops? Yeah, they're struggling, losing about 2 officers a month, which is too many if you ask me. It's like an all-out war, and it doesn't care who gets caught up in it. Innocent, guilty, or just plain unlucky. Flash forward to Brooklyn, November 1988, where Bobby and Amada are chilling on the couch, probably enjoying a little Netflix, if it existed back then, when someone knocks on the door saying there's an issue. Bobby heads over to the El Caribe, a nightclub that's buzzing with action. Topless women dancing, bar fight breaking out, the usual Friday night stuff. After calming things down, Bobby tells his assistant, Jumbo Falsetti, great name, right? That he's off to see the club owner across the street. At a cozy little house, Bobby's greeted by an older Russian couple who act like they just adopted. Murat Buzhayev hints at some big plans in the works, and the ladies offer Bobby homemade desserts. Because nothing says, let's discuss crime, like a nice slice of pie. Bobby says his thanks and heads out. Meanwhile, Amada is getting all dolled up, telling her friends she's about to meet the family. No pressure there. They roll up to a big Polish Catholic church in Queens for a ceremony honoring Captain Joe Grzinski. But before going inside, Bobby and Amada take a little moment in the car to share a joint, because why not be a bit hazy before a family event? Inside, they make their way to a group of high-ranking cops, including Bobby's dad and brother. The chief pulls Bobby aside for a private convo, where Joe announces he's about to lead a narcotics unit. Oh, and surprise, the cops think the owner of Bobby's club is into drug smuggling. Bobby's in full denial mode, like, nah, not my club. Then Bert pulls Bobby aside for a father-son chat. And by chat, I mean lecture. He criticizes Bobby's lifestyle, his girlfriend, and even the fact that Bobby's using his late mother's maiden. Ouch. Angry and hurt, Bobby and Amada bail, just as Joe's being celebrated for his promotion. Talk about awkward exits. Back at Bobby's place, Amada's in full moving-in mode and even gives him a gold chain, because nothing says commitment like some. Soon, the apartment fills with friends, and the party kicks off. Jumbo even brings drugs, because of course he does. Things get out of control, but that's par for the course in Bobby's world. Later, Bobby heads over to Murat's house again, where they chat about opening another nightclub. Bobby's pumped, throwing out big ideas, while Murat keeps his focus on importing fur, which is totally not suspicious at all. Back at the club, Bobby and Jumbo notice Amada cozying up to Vadim Nizinski. Jumbo casually drops that Vadim once had someone's head chopped off, just a casual piece of trivia to bring up. Bobby's clearly on edge. Suddenly, the cops, led by Joe Grzinski, raid the club like it's Black Friday. They search everyone for drugs, and Joe even taunts Vadim by tearing up a wad of cash like it's confetti. Bobby doesn't get off easy. He gets roughed up, and one cop even smears black ink all over his face. It's a wild night with a bunch of arrests made, but it gets even crazier at the station when one of the Russian guys slits his throat. Talk about a dramatic exit. The next morning, Bert comes to bail Bobby out, but Bobby, still looking like a mess, refuses the help and flips his dad off. Classy. After pulling himself together, Bobby goes to see Joe, but instead of making peace, they end up in a heated argument, throwing harsh words around like they're snowballs. Later on, Joe gets shot in the face while trying to juggle groceries. Bert finds out while mid-workout, almost faints. Honestly, the gym is probably the worst place to hear bad news. Meanwhile, back at Bobby's, there's a full-on rager happening with poker and cash everywhere. The phone rings, and Amada answers. It's Michael, one of the cops, calling to tell Bobby that Joe's been shot, but he's alive, at Jamaica Hospital clinging on. Bobby rushes to the hospital, shocked by the news. Once again, Bert gives him a hard time. Joe is going to make it, but he's facing a long recovery, several months in the hospital. Joe even visits Amada at her mom's place. Later, while grabbing a bite at a diner, Vadim meets Bobby and offers to show him how his operation works, hoping Bobby can help them distribute through his social circle. Bobby's unsure about it. Vadim then throws shade at the cops, bragging about shooting Joe and threatening that Bert's next. Bobby hurries to warn his dad, but Bert just thanks him and brushes it off, with no plan to take action. Bobby is dismissed. The next day, Bobby, now alone with Michael, offers to go undercover. He thinks if they catch Vadim with his big drug shipment, things could be resolved. Michael gives him a lighter fitted with a hidden microphone, and they agree on a safe word, Feather. Bobby gets in touch with Pavel, telling him he's ready to join in. He soon finds himself at a drug house, watching the Russians cut and pack some powder. Suspicious, Vadim searches Bobby and questions why he's carrying both a lighter and matches. He takes apart the lighter, finding the hidden mic, but Bobby manages to whisper the word feather. The police burst in, guns blazing, and Bobby leaps out of a second-story window, landing in agony. Vadim gets arrested, but while handcuffed in the back of a police car, he overhears Bert loudly expressing concern for his son. Bert rides with a badly injured Bobby in the ambulance. Joe eventually gets out of the hospital after 4 months. At his welcome home party, Bobby and Amata are treated like part of the family. As Joe, Bert, and Michael talk about Vadim, Bobby listens. Afterward, Amata heads to her mom's, where Bobby later finds her with Jumbo. They leave together, and Bobby warns her it's too risky. Joe goes to visit Vadim in jail, only to find out he's been moved to a hospital. Bert then picks up Bobby and Amata as news spreads that Vadim has escaped. They decide to change motels, with Bert leading the way, Bobby and Amata in one car, and another car trailing behind for security. Not long after leaving the Q Motor Inn, Bobby realizes the security car behind them has disappeared. Out of nowhere, a car pulls up alongside them, and someone shoots the driver. Bobby takes control of the car as the attackers race ahead to go after Bert. In a wild chase through heavy traffic and rain, Bobby watches as his father is outmatched and tragically killed right in front of him. The cars crash, and soon after, Bobby and Amata are under heavy guard at the Sheridan near Kennedy Airport. Bobby and Joe mourn their father's death, and there's a full police honor guard. Even Marat Buzhayev shows up. One night, Amata notices Bobby studying for the police entrance exam. Furious that he's made this risky decision without even talking to her, she leaves. Bobby gets sworn in as a cop due to his special knowledge, but he still has to go through the academy later. For now, he's a plainclothes officer helping out at the precinct. He heads to the El Caribe to confront Jumbo, who admits knowing about the Q Motor Inn and eventually spills that Buzhayev is up to something on Tuesday. At a police strategy meeting, they plan to take down Buzhayev and Vadim. Bobby remembers that Buzhayev goes horse riding with his grandkids every Tuesday, and Joe approves a raid at the stables. Later, Joe gives Bobby their dad's old revolver. At an abandoned site near the water, the Russian gangsters gather, unaware they're being watched by armed cops. Inside, Buzhayev demonstrates their smuggling process, dissolving drugs in water soaked into fur pelts. When the water evaporates, only pure white powder remains. Joe initiates the raid, and a shootout erupts. Though Joe hits the ground unscathed, he freezes up. Bobby grabs a shotgun and charges forward with the other officers. He chases Vadim into a field of tall weeds, but loses him in the chaos. Returning to the cops, Bobby sees Buzhayev being arrested. To force Vadim out, the police throw smoke bombs and flares into it. Bobby can't wait any longer, so he dives into the smoky brush and eventually takes down Vadim. Sometime later, at the police academy graduation, Joe announces he's taking an admin job to spend more time with his 3 kids. Bobby Grzinski is named valedictorian. At the ceremony, he thinks he sees Amata but quickly realizes it's just someone who looks like her. This stirs up some emotions, and he's reminded of how much he misses her.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update.